welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final video for this semester. My name is Jared, and I'm your host for GBS Beginner English. This is review 4 from Speak Now 3. This is going to be the culmination of the whole semester's lessons all put together in one. Now, we're going to review lessons 13, 14, and 15, as well as 16 for this lesson. So let's get started and finish off this semester on a big high note. And no, I'm not going to sing because if I do, I risk shattering not only my eardrums, but your reputation and respect for me. So no high notes from me. Low notes, okay. High notes, no. Today, we're going to talk about a weekly puzzle. No, we're not. We're not going to talk about weekly puzzle. This is wrong, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about the grammar for this week. We don't have a puzzle. We already did the weekly puzzle for 3 letters. So we're just going to go ahead and skip that part. We're going to go on and talk about the grammar for this section. We'll talk about review 4 and the workbook and wrap it up for today. So, grammar. We're talking about words that are, these are homophones. We've talked about them before as that words that sound the same but are written completely different and mean completely different things. This is the word principal. Principal and principal. When we have AL, we're talking about the person who is in charge of a school, the Wanjung Nim, the highest ranking person in a group, the principal. This can be used in many different ways and talking about a person. Now, principle with LE is talking about a set of standards or a way something is done, the principal way that things get done. So these are confusing, and sometimes you have in English many more homophones, words that sound the same, but they can mean completely different things. So my suggestion when you go looking at videos on the internet and you're like, why is that funny? Look into the words that are said and see if there is another word that sounds the same, maybe it's spelled differently, which changes the meaning of the sentence. All right, now this one, LMFAO. Now, LMFAO it started as an expression, and you can add ROF on the front end and get Roflamau. Roflamau and LMFAO are 2 different ways to say basically the same thing, that you're laughing so hard and you just can't and do anything else. This one is laughing my off. I'm laughing my butt off. I'm laughing so hard that I can't do anything else. So here in the review, we're going to look at Eric and his roommate coming back from their trip to New York, and we want to find out what's happened. Something amazing has happened to them, both good and a little bit bad, and we got to find out what that is all about. So without further ado, let's get started and have a little bit of fun.
Feels good to be back home. Definitely. Ow.
Tom? Did you close the window before we left?
Of course I did.
But the window was open. There were things all over the floor.
Strange. Maybe it was the wind.
I think we've been robbed. I'm missing something.
No. Let me go check my room. Everything is in my room and the TV is here. What are you missing?
I don't understand. Why would anyone take Brownie?
Eric, I'm sorry. But what is Brownie? Was it really valuable?
My grandmother gave it to me when I was a kid. It must be worth a lot of money right now. It's an antique.
I read an interesting story online about a person that sold an old object from the 1800s thinking it wasn't worth anything. It turned out to be an antique worth over $1 million.
Wow, Tom. Thanks.
I'm sorry. Probably not the best time to be telling you that.
We should call the police.
Uh,
No, can you do it? I'm very upset right now. Please. Please.
hey. Hi, is this the local police station?
Tell them we've been robbed, and I'm very upset.
Eric, my roommate, believes we've been robbed.
Tell them I'm very upset.
He says he's really upset. No, the TV is here. Actually, everything is here.
Except my antique. My grandmother gave it to me in 1996.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling me he's missing an antique from 1996. Hold on. What does it look like?
It's round. And it's very small. It's brown.
What is it exactly?
I have a picture of it. Here.
It's a teddy bear. Right. Okay. Thank you, officer.
What did he say?
That a teddy bear from 1996 is not an antique.
Well, this is just awful. What could have happened?
Eric, is this Brownie?
Yes.
It was underneath the sofa.
How did it get there? Tom?
All that for a teddy bear. Now you may say, "Oh, that sounds really, really strange." There are people who have broken in for less things. I think that the window got left open a little bit and the wind blew things around. It's possible. Given that nothing else is missing, that's probably most likely what happened. But you never know. Now, when you think about an antique, antique generally refers to something that's over 100 years old. It doesn't have to be quite 100 years old. It can be a few years shy of it, but things that are over 100 years old are generally considered antique. And if they're over 1,000 years old, then they can be considered a classic or antiquity. Now, I have my saxophone, and my saxophone was manufactured. The earliest date would be 1917. The latest date would be 1920. And as it is now 2020, my saxophone is officially over 100 years old. And I've gone back and looked at it, and it's not worth a lot of money. It's worth a lot to me because I've enjoyed playing it, and I think that it has a very amazing sound. And maybe I'll bring it to class one time. Maybe not, but I'll see what I can do. But I do have at least a couple of things that are antique, and these are things that are important to you. A lot of people will pass down family heirlooms, things that come down from a long time ago. I know that a lot of people, oh, it has to be brand new for me to really enjoy it. But don't give up on old things because they do come from our past. All right, go back, watch the video, and figure out what you can find about Eric and Tom and their description of the apartment. Now, this is a very important part. Do you still have anything that's special from your childhood? I kept a lot of things from my childhood. Star Wars figures, G.I. Joe action figures. I kept a lot of things from as a kid. And right now they do me no good. I've already given anything that I had to my brother, and that's because my brother has his son, my nephew, and he hasn't gotten old enough to use those toys yet, but my collections of toys and everything that I had, they all belong to my nephew now. And whatever he chooses to do with them, that's up to him. If he chooses to open up the toys and play with them, I'm happy. If he decides to keep them and collect them and save them, then I'm happy. It's up to him. These are all things that he can do something with. And then what's the most valuable thing that you own? My most valuable thing is always right here by my desk. And that's this right here. I'm going to take it down. Stuff. And the most valuable thing that I own is this. And you may say, a lock? A lock? That's the most valuable thing you own? Yes, this is the most valuable thing that I own. My saxophone is important and everything else. Those are important. This is the only thing that has value to me. And you may be curious as to why. And I'll tell you why right now. This lock was made, it's from the Corbin Cabinet Lock Company, and this was made in and around the 1940s in the United States. And this particular lock was issued to a soldier during World War II while he was going through training in the US Army. And this was his footlocker lock. And he had this lock the entire time that he was in the military. He served his country well, and after he served his country well, he went on to spend time with my grandmother and became my grandfather. And before the end of World War II, my mother was born. This lock was my grandfather's, and it's very special to me because this was actually used by my grandfather during his entire time in World War II. It survived him for many, many years, and he gave it to my mother, and my mom kept it for many years. And then I did a project in middle school, and I needed a lock, and my mother said, "I have just the thing," and she gave me her father's footlocker lock, and I've had it ever since, and it's been extremely valuable to me. This is the only thing that I have that belonged to my grandfather. It's the only thing I have from any of my grandparents, and I always keep it right here next to my desk, and it's always right here, always. And if I ever had to leave, that's the only thing other than my paperwork, my animals, and my wife that I would take to get out of this apartment. The only thing that would go with me. Everything else, it's valuable. I told you my saxophone is an antique, but I could abandon my saxophone in a heartbeat. But that lock has been in my family for a long time. And one day I will pass that lock on to my nephew. He's going to need to be older so that he understands what that lock meant and what it still means. And that when I give it to him, is that this is going to be something that he's going to have to decide what he's going to do with it. But once I give it to him, it's his to do with what he wants. If he wants to sell it, he can sell it. If he wants to keep it and give it to his children, that's great too. I'm not going to be able to do anything once I give it to him. It's his forever. But that's the one thing that I have from my grandfather, and I hold on to that because it's very special to me. All right, now in lesson 13, I used to play hopscotch. We talked about games and activities that we did as a kid, fun things that you do and enjoy. Go out and talk about those stories and things that you enjoyed doing. She said she was sorry. We talked about being doppelgangers. We talked about people that look the same. We also talked about things that you may mistake someone for their wrong person, that this person, wow, that looks very like a famous person. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. Go up, ask. Usually famous people are like, yeah, sure, I'll sign an autograph, or I'll talk about this. But don't be afraid if they say, you know what, I'm not famous, please just leave me alone. Then unusual stories. We talked about that in lesson 15, unusual and strange stories. Remember, I told you, Go check it out on the internet. There's a website called Snopes, Snopes, that is a great place to check whether what you're reading is fact or fiction. Some stories may be so strange, you're like, wow, that can't be true. And then you go look it up and it's like, it actually is true. Wow. And then others may be an exaggeration of truth. But check out the information. Make sure you have the correct information when you are telling a story. And when do they release it? We talked about how important it is to know facts and dates for big events. Know when things happen in your lifetime. People will ask you, oh, where were you when this happened? In my lifetime, probably the biggest event that has happened in my lifetime was September 11th, 2001. And I was on my way to a robotics class when the first plane hit the Twin Towers. I got to class, walked in, and everybody was like, did you see what happened? Have you seen what happened? I was like, I just walked in. I've been listening to the radio. I haven't listened to anything. Went in, watched the TV, and then I was watching live when the second plane hit. And living in Houston, I remember shortly after that, them coming up and grounding all flights, and then amazing thing happened. Went home, spent time with my family, got to know them and feel closer to them. Both a good time and a bad time. Good time that, hey, I'm alive, I'm here. Bad time, my family actually had people in that area that were affected by September 11th. And it's a scary thing to remember. In your lifetime, I mentioned in the video, the sinking of the Chonan, the sinking of the Sewol, and the political protests of Park Geun-hye against Park Geun-hye. These are all major events that happened within your lifetime. There are other things that are going to happen, things that are planning to happen in the future when send people to Mars, return to the moon, meet an alien race. I don't know. There'll be some amazing things. We'll have fun with it. All right, so let's go on to everybody's favorite part. The last bit of workbook. All right, ladies and gentlemen, go back and listen to that dialogue between Tom and Eric and fill in the missing blanks. It's a little bit difficult, but I know that you can do it. So go and have some fun with it. Now, talk about past tense. There are several different versions of things in the past tense. There are 4 separate ways that we talk about things in the past. Now, future tense is very easy. Past tense is where English grammar becomes very difficult. The simple past tense describes an action or state that started and finished in a definite time in the past. The phone rang. It was my friend Donna. 2 things that happened, definite, complete, it doesn't keep going. Past continuous indicates an activity in progress during a particular time in the past, meaning it was going on while something else was happening. The phone rang while I was eating lunch. Now, what happened? I was eating lunch. Could be yesterday, could be 2 weeks ago, could have been 355 years ago. But the phone rang. Ring, 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 ring. What were you doing? I was eating lunch, was eating. I didn't eat lunch and the phone rang. I was eating. It was something that was happening in the past and kept going. I started eating. I'm still eating. Was eating. The past perfect continuous indicates that one event is in progress immediately before, up to, or until the time of another event. The phone rang while I was eating lunch. Past continuous. It was my friend Donna. She said she had been trying to call me all morning. Had been trying. This is where we're using in the past tense. Had been trying to call me all morning. This is indicating it started in the past and she'd been doing it for a long time up until the time that the phone was answered. The past perfect indicates an activity that has happened before in another time event. The phone rang while I was eating lunch. Was eating lunch, past tense. Phone rang, past tense. It was my friend Donna. She says she had been trying to call me all morning. Past perfect continuous. However, I had put my phone on vibrate and I had left it in my bag, so I did not hear it when it rang. Had put, past and completed, but it's two different actions. Had put in the past. So when you get a chance, use this to work on your workbook. Work on which one would best finish the sentence. Now, there's usually only one that works. So, number one, I had a lot of fun when I was a child. Now, you could say, I had a lot of fun. Now, this is where had, this is one of the few times in English where you can actually double up the word and mean something different. I had all I could do for homework, meaning I had all I could do for homework, but past tense, I had all I could do. Possible. Strange, yes, but possible. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that will wrap us up for this week. Again, it wasn't the weekly puzzle, it was the weekly grammar lesson. We did the student review of Review 4 and finished up the workbook. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your participation in class. I know you're going to do a great job when we come up to the finals. Have fun, and I will see you all in class. So, take care, have fun. Bye-bye.